Well, welcome. My name is Jason Watson with WCG Introductions.
Joseph Bassett with WCG.
Megan Oeltjenbruns.
Very exciting. Today we got 4 segments. And for those of you who haven't watched our podcast in the past, these aren't really scripted. We write down some words. Here, I can even show it, put it in front of the camera. That's all we're talking about today. We just write down some words and we just kind of go from the heart and the gut, which is great. So we're going to have 4 segments to really help out our CRNA community. We have seemingly been getting a lot of phone calls and emails and inquiries from those individuals. Do you want to give us maybe why we're seeing more of those phone calls these days?
I think it's just the shift from a W-2 employee to 1099 contractor. You know, a lot of hospitals are moving more toward that, so it's been bringing us a lot of new clients.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it seems like, some of these smaller hospitals in like rural communities, they've always used kind of contract doctors or contract nurses or contract medical professionals, and it's now exploding now, where it's not just a side gig, it's not just something on the side. Now that's how you're getting compensated fully. Why do you think, from a hospital's perspective, they prefer 1099 over W-2 contractors? What do you think, Megan? There's about 50 reasons, right?
Yeah, probably. But I think part of it is they don't have to own that workforce then.
Right.
They don't have to provide benefits and all these other things that go with medical professional payroll.
Yeah, you can ebb and flow.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, as you need them, you staff up. As you don't, or as it eases up, you let them go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it's way more economical. I mean, we saw a lot of this probably about 5-6 years ago in the defense space, and it's like, well, hey, if we lay off 5,000 individuals from Northrop Grumman, there's congressional hearings. If we just not renew 5,000 contracts, nobody seems to care. Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, so there's a good shift. So why is it an advantage, you think, for the CRNA to convert from a W-2 to 1099?
I mean, it opens up their world to save cash, not just taxes, but cash. Because even when you're a W-2 employee and you're making that much on a W-2, you're kind of hosed when it comes to payroll taxes, income tax deductions, any of those things. So if you can get actually more money as a 1099 than you were making as a W-2 typically, because of the increased risk, no benefits are being paid from the hospital. So you combine all that together, and now at first you're like, oh man, I have this huge self-employment tax liability. But we can help you out with that, and then it just opens you up to save more cash.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other big thing, though, is control. These people want to be in control of their own careers and their own lives. They don't necessarily want to go to the same hospital every day forever. They want to be able to go work in Oregon, go work in Georgia, I've got a couple who have bought, RVs because they want to just see the country too while they're working.
From a lifestyle perspective, it's huge. No, I agree. So just to kind of just to paraphrase what I'm hearing, it's a 2-win situation. You're probably going to get more pay, and now you open up the world to more deductions, which everyone seems to love. I would rather have way more pay and fewer deductions, but everyone likes deductions, like they're winning a game or something,
Someone else is paying for it.
Exactly, yeah. It's like Monopoly money. It's a write-off, So, but let's go back to the getting paid more, because as a contractor, you should easily get paid more than you would as a normal W-2. If you're making $100 an hour as a W-2, you should be easily getting $130, $140 an hour as a contractor. And that's because, of course, the company's portion of payroll taxes, roughly 8%, maybe 9%, something like that. They usually have to pay for benefits. They got sick leave and vacation, 401k matching, and all this stuff. And sometimes the burden rate is 30, 40, 50%, meaning if you're getting paid $100, it costs the hospital $150 to have you sitting around. So you can use that for your negotiations. You can say, hey, look, pay me $120, pay me $130. Some of the CRNAs that we work with are getting $200, $250 an hour, but I'm using $100 as just a nice baseline. So you get more pay because you're taking some of the expense away from the hospital. That's awesome. And then you get more deductions. Can you explain why you get more deductions as a contractor versus W-2?
Well, so if you're a W-2 employee, there's no such thing as deductions.
2017.
There's no such, I can't say, I'm a W-2 employee. I can't say, well, but I spent X dollars on mileage getting to my job every day.
Right.
Or, I had to buy these supplies, I buy my own pencils and
right.
tough luck, know. Where if you're self-employed, those are all legitimate business expenses, and you should be taking advantage of all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot more than just...
Yeah, so since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we no longer have a 2% or the miscellaneous deduction, which wasn't that great of a deduction anyway.
2%
You still had to get over 2% of your income. So if you made $200,000, the first $4,000 was not deductible. But yeah, mileage, home office, supplies, professional attire, all those things start to become deductions. You're already spending the money anyway as a W-2. It wasn't like you suddenly aren't spending the money when you went to W-2. But as a contractor now, the same dollar that you're spending as a W-2 suddenly becomes deductible, where in a W-2 world it wasn't. So yeah, more pay, more deductions. I don't know, it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, really.
Well, and I think that, again, they can control that too, the spend and the timing, the cash flow and all these things, right? Like I don't necessarily get to decide when I need new pencils, where if I'm self-employed, I do.
Yeah,
I decide if it's time for a new car, or, if I want to expand my home office or whatever it is.
Yeah, new laptop, whatever.
And the control component too, a lot of hospitals, you're PRN, so you have to work a certain amount of shifts each month, whereas we've had some people talk to us and they're like, I might not work the last quarter of the year.
Totally.
My contract might be up, I might just enjoy the holidays. So that's also another benefit of going to 99 and picking up
time your contract.
These short-term contracts.
I've heard that too. Like, how much money are you going to make? Well, I'm making like $4,000 a week. Okay, and I'm doing the math. How many weeks are going to have for the rest of the year? Like, yeah, but I'm not going to work after like November 12th. I'm like, okay, I can do the math all over. So it's a great lifestyle for sure. So, and we can talk a little bit about the lifestyle when we get into the state stuff here in segment 3. Right now, we're just kind of talking about that conversion. So, yeah, the medical community a lot has seen some movement towards that contractor, CRNAs especially. So that's cool. And going from W-2 to 1099 certainly helps. We'll talk about that transition though, because right about now, if you convert from W-2 to 1099, you might want to wait for the S-Corp election. We'll talk about that here in a second. But anyway, that's our first segment, overview of the CRNA industry, and then why converting from a W-2 to 1099 is a good idea. In our next segment, we'll talk about setting up your entity if you are a contractor, and why that makes sense to do the S-Corp election, self-employment taxes, and then we'll talk about that deferral to 2023 for those of you watching it in 2022. We'll just say next year if you're watching this later on. So again, my name is Jason Watson with WCG, and we'll be back here on segment 2.